Mike Radich here, and I'm now joined on the phone by XFC Featherweight Junior Assuncao. Junior, how are you?
Hey guys, how are you? Sorry for the back and forth. I had a bad connection in the hotel where I'm staying.
No worries. Very happy that we got in contact with you and very excited to talk with you tonight. Before we start talking about your upcoming fight, let's go back in time a little bit. Let's go back to when you were still a part of the UFC. Obviously, you had a run many years ago in the UFC. You were released, and then you went on a nice little streak, and then got back to the UFC, defeated Eddie Yakin at UFC 135, suffered a loss to Ross Pearson at UFC 141, then you were released. What was that whole experience like? Because here you had been in the UFC once before, then you were released and then rebuilt yourself outside the UFC, made it back there, and then basically only 2 or 3 months you get to be in the UFC. You know, you fight at 135, which was in September of 2011, then you fight at UFC 141, which was in December of 2011, and then you're back out on the regional circuit after they cut you. So what was that whole experience like, only having such a short window to get back into the octagon?
Maybe at first it was a little shocking because I had a good win streak coming in. When I lost to Ross Pearson, it was a 7-fight win streak.
Right.
So it was a little bit shocking. There was a little bit of hype behind me because of my win streak, obviously.
Right.
I wasn't just there to be another one. I wanted to be a champion. So that was my plan. So to get to the championship fight. So to tell the truth, at first it kind of bothered me a little bit. I obviously invested a lot into building like a good win streak to be able to sign and stuff. But I mean, nothing that it bothered me for a little bit, and then I immediately signed it with the XFC again, which is home for me. I was a champion at 155 there, right before I re-signed it with the UFC. So to answer your question, it was a little bit shocking at first, but then I was able to regroup and started training again and stuff. So life continues.
Just curious, how long did it take you to get over the news? Like a couple weeks, a couple months? What are we talking about?
Yeah, it took a few months, man. To tell the truth, it made me rethink my plans a lot. I had a lot invested into my goals. So as I said, it shocked me a little bit. Then I kind of had to switch gears a little bit. You know what I mean? But I was able to rebound. Came back, signed it with XFC. Right before that, I had a fight in Brazil, which was my last fight, which was actually was running for Fight of the Year in the Brazil MMA circuit, and comeback of the year also. I fought a really good guy, and was able to perform really well. So now I'm in a main event fight. You know what I mean? With another tough opponent. Coming forward, life keeps going.
Just a couple more questions about the past, and then we'll talk about the present day. But now, when you left the UFC, did they give you a reason for why they cut you? Because, you were a guy who fought in the UFC before. You had one stint before this Ross Pearson, Eddie Yakin stint that you had, 141 and 135. You'd fought like Nate Diaz and a couple other really good guys in like 2006, 2007, around that time. And a lot of people cheer for guys like you who were in the big show once, fall on hard times, lose a couple fights, get released, then rebuild themselves on the regional circuit, get wins, and then come back. So a lot of people were looking forward to seeing you come back and compete inside the UFC because you'd been there once before and then rebuilt yourself. So did they give you a reason why they cut you? What exactly did they say to you?
To be honest with you, I'm just answering your question to be polite.
Right.
I don't really like to, that's a very sensitive subject for me, but I will answer your question.
Okay.
No, pretty much, there were many guys that were signed. It was hard to understand at first because when I lost to Ross Pearson, I was in a 7-fight win streak. Mm-hmm. There weren't many guys in my weight class on that kind of a win streak back on that time.
Right.
So it was a little bit shocking. It was just the usual talk. There are many guys. Go out there, get some wins, come back. I don't know, man. My style at the time didn't help much either. I was fighting very afraid to lose. I guess I could say it like that. But again, I was in a 7-fight win streak, so it's hard to make a huge change on a team that's been winning.
Right.
You just win what you've been doing. So that's kind of the mindset that so it was good. It was a good wake-up call for me to rethink my fighting style, my fighting approach. The all out there, it evolves a lot, and the people, the fans, the promotions, everybody, they want to see. They want to see you go out there and leave it all in the cage, But it goes back to what I told you. It's hard to visualize those things when you're winning. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, they to answer your question, they didn't say much. It was just pretty much that they weren't very happy with my performance, with the way I was fighting out there, and they just pretty much, say, listen, we don't have anything against you, but go work on few things or whatever and come back. My plan is to keep going forward. I don't live to fight in the UFC anymore. I already been there. If it happens one day, great. If not, I want to make history in the XFC. I was a champion at 155. Now I fight at 145, so I'm in a hunt for that belt. I want to be a champion in 2 different weight classes. You know what I mean? And as far as the UFC, who knows what happens, in the future. But now I have the eye on the prize with the XFC to make history, as I said.
Mm-hmm. Then after you leave the UFC, like in April of 2012, you sign with Legacy, but we don't see you in Legacy. We don't get to see you in action. You suffer some injuries, and then fights keep getting pushed back, and then fights get canceled, and then they're put back on cards, and there's all this commotion, and we never get to see you fight for Legacy. Just curious, what were some of these injuries, and also why were you never able to fight for Legacy?
Yeah, I had just from I guess multiple training camp. Throughout my career, I've been fighting for a long time. I never had any serious surgeries and stuff, but my elbow did bother me a little bit. So I had to have my elbow scoped, I had to get cleaned up, and that kind of set me back a little bit. And coming back from that injury, I was very insecure. Is the elbow good to go? Is the elbow bad? Is the elbow... Actually, this week I found out I'm in Miami right now, and Alistair Overeem, he's training at the same gym where I'm training now, and he just got both of his elbows done. So we're talking the other day, and I'm like, I had mine done about 2 years ago, whatever. And he said, he told me it's the second time he has his done, and according to his doctor, once you get it done one time, I had fragments in there. So he said, once you get it done one time, you got to do it every 2-3 years. So it's been 2 years, and it doesn't bother me now, but I can't see myself having to get it looked at it again in maybe another year or so. So, I guess to answer your question, I could have never debut at Legacy because of this factor. I just had injuries and it just, those things, what I mean? Was never really able to, get a solid training camp. I'll start training camp, and then a couple weeks in training camp, my elbow will get inflamed or whatever. I just needed some time off. It was good, and I needed some mind, to clear my mind a little bit, some stuff in the past, and. now it's a different deal. Already I fought, and even though it was a long time before I fought, but I was still able to get out there and put a solid training camp and just go out and perform. That's what I love to do, and I'll continue to do it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. What exactly ended the agreement with Legacy? What exactly happened? Was it just that you were injured and they couldn't put you on a card because of these injuries, and then eventually they just said, you know what, get healthy and then pick up some wins maybe somewhere else, and then we might bring you back? What exactly ended the thing with Legacy? Because we never got to see.
I don't have anything. Nothing really. I just pretty much, we couldn't get a date going. As I said, with the injuries and stuff, and then we wanted to get a date set and stuff, and then me and the XFC, we already had a good relationship going from the past. I was a champion there at one point, and it just pretty much just came to, I just asked for my release, please give my release. The president of Legacy has always been very kind. Didn't hesitate at all. It was pretty much like, no problem, Junior. If there's a better opportunity for you out there, go ahead and take it. That's what I did, So I re-signed it with the XFC, opportunity to, like I said earlier, to make history, you know what I mean? Eventually fight for championship. I'm not looking past my opponent, obviously, but I had to have a goal in order to keep going forward. And my goal is to be a champion at 145. So there was nothing really complicated with Legacy. I just pretty much, like I said, I asked for my release and they gave it to me. And XFC is a great promotion. They're coming very strong in Brazil right now. And so that's how it came out.
Mm-hmm. Now, you didn't fight at all in 2012. Was it just because of that elbow injury, or were there other factors into why you didn't fight?
Yeah, I had my elbow surgery in 2012. And, between recovering from the surgery, and then once I was recovering from the surgery, physical and everything, I was so afraid to, I don't know, I was afraid to strain my arm, I was afraid to hurt it again. I had never had surgery before until that. Thank God I never had surgery in my shoulders, knees, nothing. Considering, I'm a veteran in the sport, I've been doing it for a long time. So it was just a new experience for me. I just had to understand how to deal with that, and coming back from a tough injury. I guess it wasn't as serious as I thought it was, but because I never had surgery before, it was like a new world for me. So I had to really, I was very put behind. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Definitely. Now, in September of 2013, you fought a title fight, 4 rounds. You finished the guy by submission in the 4th round. A very long fight for a guy who had been out for a very long time. You hadn't fought since December of 2011, and then here you are fighting a very long fight. How did you feel about your performance in that fight, and also, what did it feel like coming back to the cage and fighting after you had been out for such a long time?
Yeah, coming back was great, as we talked about, the injuries and everything, I was insecure at first, but then I put a really good camp together. I did the camp in Brazil at that time, and I was fighting a guy that had a good win streak from a solid school. I knew I had a tough fight, but at these days, I'm only gonna get tough fights. You know what I mean? Like, nobody's gonna want to fight that is, I don't think there's such thing as a tomato can these days. Mm-hmm. Back when I started, there was, but now there's a lot of information out there. So, people, there's a lot of good people out there. So I fought a young kid, hungry. It was good, man. It was one of my best fights of my career, because, I had a good comeback. I don't know if you got to see the fight or not, but I was fighting. It was a good fight, and in the 3rd round, he touched my chin and knocked me down. I was out cold pretty much. He kept going, woke me back up. I swept him, ended the round on top, and then came back 4th round and tapped him. So it was a really good fight. He ran for Fight of the Year in Brazil, and also back of the year, two different categories he ran in an award that they had in Brazil. Mm-hmm. So it was good, man. Like you said, being away for almost 2 years, to come back and have a good performance, it was good. You know what I mean? It was really good. Mm-hmm. I'm quite pleased with my performance on that fight specifically. I hope that June 7th, next week, I can come out and put a good performance the same way. I'm going to go fight hard and get on in the cage, That's the way I operate right now.
Mm-hmm. Now, how long after the fight that you had in September of 2013, how long after that fight does XFC come in and sign you? What's the timeline for that?
Yeah, when that fight happened, I had already signed with XFC, but I already had the contract signed with that promotion in Brazil, and I signed it with XFC US here.
Right.
So I was only going to fight in the XFC here in the US, you know what I mean? So it wouldn't go in conflict. So I could still do some fights in Brazil if that was the case. But then, it just came down to... I had to pretty much vacate that belt down there in Brazil, and the priority is to have a really good opportunity to make history in the XFC, which is a growing promotion. It's huge down there in Brazil right now, and if I can have that kind of opportunity to have a hold of another belt, I mean, that's just going to be great for my career, for myself, Mm-hmm. I didn't hesitate at all, to sign it with XFC International, where I can also fight in Brazil and use that route also.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, back in December of last year, you were supposed to fight at XFC 27 in my neck of the woods. You were supposed to come up here to Michigan and fight. That fight didn't take place because you pulled out due to an injury. Was it the elbow, or was it a different injury that you suffered that prevented you from fighting?
It was actually an injury that it happened from the fight in Brazil. It was a very tough fight, and as I said, he knocked me down, and that hurt my head pretty good, Right. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was able to the doctor told me no contact for 120 days. I had to get an MRI, CAT scan, all kinds of stuff, and showed. I don't want to talk too much about it, but right. The doctor just pretty much, told me that I needed to sit back and, wait a little bit for my head to heal. I was getting dizzy, you know what I mean? I don't know exactly what was happening, but. I wasn't just myself, and then once I got the MRI and all the results, and then we saw what it was, and then, obviously I came to the U.S. to do some more exams here. In Brazil, it's good and stuff in Brazil, but here I have more resources. So I came from the U.S., from Brazil to the U.S., and, did some treatment here, went and got checked out. Continue with the rest time that was recommended, I guess, and then went back, did all the exams again. I'm clear to go, and I'm training, and everything is back to normal.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that your main goal is to capture the XFC Featherweight title because you already have the lightweight title, and you would love to hold two belts in two different weight classes. You beat John Manlow back at XFC 10 to claim the lightweight belt. I'm just curious, do you still have that belt, or did you have to give it back when you signed with the UFC?
Oh no, man, I have the belt for sure. It's been a long time, so it started to get I live on the beach, so things get rusted sometimes. So I took it, and I took it to a place, and they pretty much repainted the whole belt. They took it apart, they redid the whole belt and put it back together. I mean, this belt is a souvenir for me. I'm not getting rid of this belt.
Right.
No, yeah, I keep it very shiny. Of course, I don't fight at 155 anymore.
Right.
But it's very satisfactory for me to have that kind of award. And when I signed it with when I re-signed it with the XFC, the boss, he asked me, "Hey, do you want to make history?" I said yes. I said, "You're gonna have some tough fights,
right,
obviously, but you have an opportunity to make history in the XFC, which is to be a champion in 2 different weight classes." I jumped right on it. I didn't make anything difficult. Everything was smooth. There was no, back and forth. I have the eyes on the prize. I knew exactly what I wanted, and we were able to close the deal.
Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful belt, isn't it?
It's a nice belt, man.
Yeah, it's definitely a great one. Now, going forward, June 7th, you're going to be taking on Alejandro Cellino. I think that's how you say it. Alejandro Cellino. You're going to be fighting him in the main event of XFC International 5. What are your thoughts about him as an opponent?
Tough opponent, of course. He's got, I don't know, like 20-something fights. He's probably got more fights than I do. I don't take anybody lightly these days. I took a lot of people lightly, and I surprised myself. Sometimes it went good for me, sometimes it went bad. So I don't take anybody lightly. He's never been knocked out in, I don't know, 20-something bouts, 29 bouts maybe. So it's a challenge for me. I gotta keep my hands up, chin down. I gotta go out there, impose my game, and finish him. That's the plan. I gotta go out and finish him. That's my deal.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. The fight is taking place 1 week from today. Just curious, what's your schedule looking like from now until the fight? Training-wise, what are you going to be doing to make some last-minute preparations? And also, when do you leave for Brazil?
Yeah, so I came to Florida for this training camp, and I'm training at MMA Masters here.
Right.
A lot of guys, there's tons of guys here. Ricardo Lamas trains here. Alistair Overeem's training here now. Luis Baboon, which is a stud. I know him since we were kids. We pretty much grew up together. There's a lot of tough guys, man. A lot of tough guys. So I came here. I'm considering relocating to Florida. I lived here years and years ago, and then I moved to Atlanta. Atlanta has a tough situation with teams right now. Everybody's kind of just doing their own thing, and I understand. In order to get to the top, you have to have a team behind it. You have to have coaching. You have to have the whole setup around it. So I came down here to Florida. Training is going great. I'm just focusing on my weight cut now. Started yesterday, pretty much. Need a few days to get that weight adjusted to have a smooth cut down in Brazil. And I leave Monday to São Paulo. And that's about it, man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I see. Now, training-wise, when was the last time you trained at Black House?
I trained at Black House when I fought Nate Diaz.
Oh.
2007.
Oh, a real long time.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Right.
I'm an old man. I've been doing this for a long time.
Right. You don't look that old. 32, I would have never guessed it. I thought maybe 26, 27, something like that.
Well, thanks. You're very kind.
Right.
But, I've been around for a long time. I did my first fight in 2002, I believe. I may be wrong. So, it's the job, right?
Right. And you and me share the same birthday, June 24th.
Oh,
you're 81, but I'm 91. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you be 33 also?
No, I'll be 23. You're 81, 91, but June 24th, same birthday.
91.
Yeah.
Young guy, man.
Yeah. You got to start young in this sport, right?
No kidding.
Right.
That's cool. So we'll have our same birthday.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yep. June 24th. Yep. Now, I'm curious. I was looking at your record of the fights that are documented, on all the databases here. It says that you really haven't fought much in Brazil. The fight you just had, and then a couple fights in 2010 and 2011 were in Brazil. But other than that, a lot of fights that took place in Georgia when you lived there. So, just curious, how many fights have you had in Brazil?
In Brazil, I had one, maybe three.
Oh, okay.
Well, I grew up in the States, I moved to the States the first time we moved to Florida, to Miami, in 94. We came with my brothers and my mother. She brought us here to learn a different culture and learn English and all that. And then I moved back to Brazil in 97, and then moved back to the U.S. in 98. So at the World Cup, 98, exactly. So that's pretty much it. So we believe I'm pretty much a citizen here, you know. So I'm pretty much American. So I've been living here my whole life. Yeah, so I lived in Atlanta for a long time, so most of my fights, at the beginning of my career, everything was done down there. That's pretty much it, you know. So the last place I lived in the U.S. Was a resident of Georgia. Mm-hmm. And then I went to Brazil, opened a gym down there, and now I'm in the process of relocating back to the U.S., but not to Georgia, to Florida, to Miami.
Mm-hmm. When was the last time you lived in Georgia?
I've always had a place in Georgia, you know what I mean? So even when I went to Brazil, I still come back often to Georgia. You know, my brothers are there. So, between, us, helping each other in our camps and stuff, or, cornering each other, I was always in Georgia. So I was always a resident of Georgia, I guess, I could consider that. But the past year and a half, when I got the elbow surgery and stuff, I started implementing a business down in Brazil, which went well. So, but now I'm back focusing on the career only, and I have somebody taking care of the gym down there. And that scenario for me is to stay in Miami right now. Training is really high here, really, really good. There's a lot of different training partners to get better here.
Oh, I see. Now, how did you get your nickname Junior? Was like your real first name, was that your dad's first name, and then you just went by Junior to avoid confusion? Where did that...
Yeah, I have the same name as my dad.
Oh, okay. I see. Okay. I was just curious.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, Junior, real quick before I let you go, do you have any sponsors you'd like to thank, and is there anything you'd like to say to the fans?
Man, I like to thank just everybody. I appreciate the time, inviting me. Sorry about the, back and forth. I'm staying in a hotel, and then there's no connection there.
Yeah, no worries.
Away from the phone, but I like to thank the XFC for this great opportunity to come out and and be able to handle a main event like that. I know it's a lot of responsibility, but I'm coming out and I'll give what they want to see. I'd like to thank my family. Obviously they always support me. My mom and dad and my brothers, and, my kids. I love everybody. Can't forget to think about God. He got me all the way here healthy, and now it's time to work next week, and I'm excited.
Junior, thank you for taking the time to talk. I really appreciate it, and good luck next week at XFC International 5.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate having me again, and you guys have a good night.